Welcome everyone to the first episode of the fourth season of Wine, Hops, and Road Stops, the program that showcases great beer, great wine, and great food across this great state of Pennsylvania and beyond. I am your host, Jeff Bonomo, and I am going to be taking on a little trip to a couple different places today. We have a very packed show, and our first stop is at the Beer Stop in West Hazen to talk about some old beer styles that have been given new life and new popularity by just giving a different little twist to them. And then we're going to go up to Wilkes-Barre Township to Krugel's Georgetown Deli and Beer to talk all about Oktoberfest beers and the history of pumpkin ale. It's all coming up on Wine, Hops, and Road Stops next. Don't go away. We'll be right back. And here we are back at the Beer Stop, located in West Hazen with my good friend and co-host, Alan. Alan, it's the new season of Wine, Hops, and Road Stops.
Number four.
Number four. Yeah, thanks for coming back and thanks for having us again. We love everything our audience has been telling us so far. We have some viewer questions to answer now. We have a whole bunch of new beers we're going to check out and new stuff that we have here at the Beer Stop. Yeah. You know, there's over, 450 different types of beer you can get here at least.
At least. Every week we rotate probably 50 to 100 different beers, come in, go out. You know, everything is about seasonal beers anymore.
So over the weekend, I was talking to somebody, this is a viewer of the show, actually ran into me, and they're asking me about unfiltered beer. Like, what is the difference between the beer that's filtered and unfiltered? What does unfiltered actually mean?
It's actually literally just that. It is filtered, almost if you picture like a Mr. Coffee filter, okay? You actually have, so a lot of the zest and the rind of different beers are going to be filtered out of the beer. And then some beers, which are unfiltered, you will actually see on the bottom a little bit of a haze. Wheats are usually a big unfiltered beer.
Filtered beer is usually what people drink when we're talking about domestic beers, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Your Coors,
yes.
Your Bud, your Miller, they're all filtered. They filter all that stuff out.
All the flavor out. Because if you picture how they're mashing the beer up, they actually throw literally the whole fruit in sometimes, or just the rind of the orange or the fruit, mash everything up, and so you get a little bit more of that haziness in it. And you can tell it when you pour the beer.
Right, and usually you'll pour the beer and then stop before the full beer is poured, because in the bottom is that sediment.
You swill it around a little to get the extra sediment and then top it off. Most of the hazy ones that are truly made like that will actually tell you how to pour the beer on the bottle. So if in doubt, just look at the bottle, it'll tell you.
So let's look at some of these, I don't want to call them new styles, but they're gaining popularity. So they may be new to me, they may be new to you. Like the Juicy Hazy IPA, which is a cloudy floral, usually fruit forward with a strong nose. And yes, it's unfiltered, and it's different than your usual IPA, which is more hoppy, more bitter.
Well, for many years, the IPAs have ruled the microbrew world. And with more and more microbrew companies getting into everything, they have to try to do some things to differentiate themselves. But also it's to attract new drinkers. A lot of the people who are, I just don't like bitter beers, you can actually drink some of these hazy IPAs because they're actually more citrusy than they are bitter.
Some of them just look like orange juice.
They do, yes. And those are the ones that probably, some of them actually put orange juice in the mash.
Well, we have one that later on we're going to try, this Hazy Orange IPA.
Yep.
That's, I can look at it right now. That's,
yeah. I mean, here's a normal beer, and there's a hazy beer.
Right.
I mean, that tells you right there, you know, unfiltered.
Another version of the IPA that's just become popular is the Brut IPA. Now, these beers are made with Brut champagne yeast. Brut IPAs are crisp, balanced, light-bodied, and dry. So they're the opposite of the hazy beers, pretty much.
Yeah, and they are making them just like champagnes. So if you like a dry champagne, check out Brut beers. You're actually going to get a little bit of that effervescent. They try and kind of keep the carbonation down slightly, so it's not as much carbonation. But again, it's almost drinking a champagne-like beer.
Next up, we have the Goes. It originated in Goslar, Germany. I think I'm pronouncing that right.
I have no idea.
We'll go with that.
Sounds good.
The dominant flavors of the Goes includes sourness. It's a very sour beer.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's even a strong saltiness to it, depending if they add salt to it.
It's getting more and more popular, but I don't know how people can drink multiples of these. Because, I mean, some of the flavors.
One and done.
Sour cherry, vinegar. I mean, you know, all kinds of weird things, which I say for marinades works fantastic. You know, but for actually sitting on your backyard on a nice night and have 3 or 4 ones.
Now, since last season, I have to admit, I I have warmed up to the style a little bit.
Okay.
I have had to.
You've always disliked them immensely.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah. But now I'm getting used to it. There's a few of them out there. I think we're trying one today.
We're trying one today. It's actually a combination of a brut and a sour.
Now I'm scared.
So it's kind of made again like champagne, but it's going to be soured.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
I haven't had it either.
I'm looking forward to it because, like I said, I warmed up to it over the summer. It's not too bad. Okay, next up. Now these ones have been around for a long time. The barrel-aged beers.
Yes.
Which is any beer has been aged in a wooden barrel or in contact with wood. This beer is aged with the intention of imparting the flavor of what has previously been in the barrel.
When you make whiskey particularly, I think you can only use the barrels 3 or 4 times. And then after that, they used to just throw the barrels out. The beer companies now are starting to buy up all these beer barrels and use them for their beers. In my cellar for the last 10 years, I have been aging beers, and then usually keep them about 3 to 4 years, and then bring, a whole stock of that up. We have one of those beers today.
Well, that's another thing. That's another thing I do want to mention. And sometimes we kind of brush over when we're here that some of these beers can only be found here at the beer stop because you age them. You take them and you age them and you put them back on the shelf and sell them. And you can't really get that in most pub
most
shops.
people, you buy the beer, you take it home, and you drink it.
Yeah.
I buy the beer and I put it in a basement that's temperature controlled, and then I sit there and watch it for 2 to 3 years.
Like this.
And wait.
And you wait, right?
Yep.
Patiently. I don't know if I can do that.
It does, but it's amazing how when you do try these beers, if you know what that beer is like. We did the Pumpkin last year, and we tried this year's batch and a 2-year-old batch, and it tastes like 2 completely different beers. Typically, the more you age the beer, the more even tone the flavors get, and quite frankly, smooth.
Finally, we got the American Brown Ale. And the reason why I mentioned American Brown Ale is because more and more breweries are kind of, they're adding like cocoa and coffee and all kinds of different stuff to it that usually is reserved for stouts. They're more and more getting into adding into a brown ale.
A brown ale is a good place to start. You're not getting the bitterness from the stouts, bitterness from the IPAs, but the beer is full enough that you can put a lot of this stuff in it. You can match it with the coffees and the different, all types of fruit and flavors and everything else.
Let's dig into these beers. Let's try them out. Let's start with down here. What do we have first?
Here we have Fu Hobo. This is a Kolsch.
Okay.
This is a crisp and clean beer. They actually made laws in Germany that if you are not within 30 miles of the village of Cologne, Germany, you cannot have a Kolsch. It just won't. Now, obviously, this is an American version. It's a very crisp, very clean style, and they're actually almost treating it like champagne. The only champagnes come from the Champagne district in France. Everything else is sparkling. And again, it's a real great style if you haven't tried microbrews before. Very easy, very crisp, very clean, no bitterness.
Nice and light.
And again, you can see, it pours, practically yellow. But again, it's just another one of those styles that is getting a little bit of popularity and something that really kind of everybody's glossed over for decades. Next, your favorite IPAs. So this is the Hazy Orange IPA from Angelica, from Lord Hobo. But yeah, very, very citrusy nose.
Oh, you can smell the orange in this. This is really good.
And I wouldn't even be calling this an IPA because you're not getting that big, strong, bitterness on the back end. You get a little bit almost of a fruit bitterness on the back end.
Yeah, there's a lot of fruit to this, and that's what that hazy, juicy style is about.
Yep, you're getting all the rind of that orange still left in the beer, which will continually add flavor to the beer over time.
More fruit forward with this, less of that bitterness that a lot of people don't like, but I do. But I like this too. This is good.
It's good for this time of year when on like the warm nights and everything. You can just sit back and drink those nice and easy.
Yeah.
Next is from D9. This is Brown Sugar Brown Cow.
Now this is a brown ale.
Correct.
So.
Right, with mocha. And you can even
smell
taste that.
You can smell that real strong nose. There's a lot of like
very, very malty. Extremely malty.
Mocha in the name for a reason. The style's actually listed as a mocha brown ale on the can. And I can tell why.
It's actually more mocha than it is brown, but yet you're still not getting into that thick beer. It's a very light beer on your tongue and your palate, but it's a very, very heavy on flavor. Yeah,
you could crush these. This is a real crushable beer for what it is. It has a lot of flavor to it.
There is.
Really good.
There is tremendous malts, tremendous mocha.
This is by D9?
D9, yep.
I need another sip of that. That was good. There's a lot of flavor in that. I really like that. I like beers that have a huge amount of flavor, but they're not real thick. They're not gonna fill you up.
It's not a one and done where it's just so heavy that you just can't bring yourself to drink anymore.
Right there, that's good. That's good. Oh,
right.
now
next, this is our combination brut and sour.
I'm a little afraid of this one. I don't know what to expect with this. This is a brut IPA that's also a sour beer.
Yeah, and you can instantly smell the sourness.
Ooh. That is a weird smell.
Yeah.
That's something like I could smell in my backyard.
If you didn't realize it was a sour, you would actually throw this out. Because again, it's soured for a reason. This is from Pennsylvania, our friends down at Highway Manor.
Oh, okay. They were on the show 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
A nice young lady.
Nice young lady. They still make great beers. That's all they make is sours. So if you want to try a real true sour, Highway Manor is a great way. It is coming off a little bit crisp, but heavy, way heavy on the sours. It does not taste as sour as it smells, though.
The smell?
Yeah.
No. Don't smell it. Just like drink it like this. It's pretty good if you don't stick your nose in it.
No, it's nice. But again, it's only 4.2% alcohol, so very low in the alcohol scale. No bite, no bitterness.
No.
There is a crisp, clean element to it that you almost think you are drinking a champagne-like.
Yeah, that's kind of offsetting the sour for me.
Yeah.
Is the brut part of it, the brut champagne yeast that's in there.
And it's almost difficult to describe it any other way than saying champagne-y, if that is even a word.
Try it.
Yeah.
Try it yourself. And I don't know if as a sour fan, I'm not a sour fan, I'm trying to think if a sour fan would like that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, because it's a lot of times this new sours now end up fruitier than sour. A lot of the Ederson Valley Gooses end up like that. They have like a watermelon, all different types of flavors.
It didn't make my face pucker though, so it's not really that sour. But
but you know it's sour.
Yeah, it's in there. It's in there.
All right, next is from 2017 from my cellar. This is from North Coast Brewing, guys. This is their Old Stock Ale.
What does that mean?
So this has been basically cellared and bottled down in North Carolina, and they cellared it there. And then in 2017 they sold it, and then I bought it, and then I cellared it. So I guess
this was
double cellared.
Yeah, double cellared. Okay. So it has been aged already before you even got your hands on it.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. It's boozy though.
It's very boozy.
Wow. I could taste that alcohol burn to it. Yeah.
It just burns going down.
That is good.
But again, that's what you're going to get out of cellar-aged and barrel-aged beers. You're getting that. If you want that boozy quality, if you're a big,
well, you can smell it. It's
Scotch, bourbon kind of a guy, those are the kind of beers for you. These usually range in the 17% or so. This one's 14%. Well, now we're going from high end to low end.
Okay.
Johnny Bootlegger.
Johnny Bootlegger.
You can see it has a nice reddish hue to it, and it smells like licorice.
So this is like a high octane wine cooler, basically, right?
This is 24 proof. So again, you're almost at a schnapps level of alcohol. And
well,
this is the strawberry.
Look at the bottle. Look at how it comes. I love it.
Yeah.
It comes in a nice little flask.
It reminds me of when you used to have the little Mad Dog flasks and put them in your jean jacket pocket.
I don't remember that. Back in high school, I don't remember that.
It smells like Twizzlers.
It does. It does. It tastes exactly like I thought it was going to taste.
It tastes like Twizzlers.
For what it is, I think it's great.
If you like wine coolers, but you basically want to get a buzz quick,
this is your thing.
But this is what's going to sneak up on you. You buy one of these and you drink it, it's equivalent to having a 6-pack of beer.
Tie a pillow to your butt because you're going down with that one. There's more to come on Wine, Hops, and Road Stops after this break. Don't go away. We'll be right back. And here we are back at Krugel's Georgetown Deli and Beer, beginning of the 4th season. Thanks for coming back on with us, Kevin. It's great to see you again.
Congratulations on your new season.
All right, great. Now, what are we going to talk about today? We're kind of in between. It's the end of the summer. Yeah. It's the beginning of the fall. What are we talking about today?
There's one beer that catches more shade than any other beer out there.
And what beer would that be?
Pumpkin beers.
Yeah, some people don't really like it that much.
No, some people don't.
Some people love it, though.
Some people do, but in their defense, there are a lot of funky pumpkin beers out there.
True.
It's interesting that pumpkin beer gets the reputation that it gets, because really pumpkin beer is the most American beer you can possibly drink. There's references to making alcohol out of pumpkins going back to the mid-1600s.
Wow.
And there's two very simple reasons for that. Well, one, the early settlers here, they didn't have any grain. So they had to use what they had. And second, pumpkins are huge.
Yeah.
There's a lot of meat on there, and the sugar's got to come from somewhere.
Makes sense.
So that's just what they did. And up until the early 1800s, pumpkin was in everything.
So you're saying like pumpkin pie in the first Thanksgiving, that wasn't just a story.
No, that wasn't a story. That was no joke.
They're
They
eating
ate a
pumpkin,
lot
they're
of
wearing
pumpkin.
pumpkin, they're bathing in pumpkin, they're drinking pumpkin.
That's it.
Pumpkin everything.
That's right. And then in the early 1800s, people stopped liking pumpkin. Probably because they had to eat a lot of pumpkin.
Probably, yeah.
So what was it? In the 1980s, there's a brewery called Buffalo Bill's Brewery out of Haywood, California. And they resurrected the pumpkin beer recipe inspired by none other than George Washington's recipe himself.
So why don't we go to the fridge and get ourselves some pumpkin beers? And our first beer for the fridge is Saranac.
Saranac is one of the most popular ones on the shelf. And what you're looking at is what you would call a classic pumpkin pie style beer.
So if someone wanted a pumpkin ale, this is probably the first thing that they go for.
It's light. It's the IBUs are non-existent.
Mm-hmm.
The hops are non-existent. It is what it says it is.
Right.
You could drink a couple of these.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't see why you couldn't drink a couple of these. The spices aren't overpowering.
No, the spices are there, but it's not really hoppy.
This would be a perfect party beer.
There you go. Because you're right, it is pretty crushable. It's pretty easy to drink.
Yeah.
And for our friends who don't like craft beers like we do, this would be perfect for them, I think. You know, the Miller Coors Bud people, you want to try a pumpkin beer that's not overwhelming, it's not too crazy with the pumpkins and the spice.
Yeah.
This is it. And next up we have Brains Pumpkin Ale for Zombies by Springhouse, which is located in Lancaster.
Lancaster.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania beer. You haven't been able to get this in this part of Pennsylvania for quite a while.
Well, that's great.
It's back in town.
Back in town, yeah.
And people are really liking it. Let's give it a shot. Smell is different immediately.
Totally different than the last one.
Totally different.
Oh, wow. There's another
Vanilla?
flavor there. Yeah.
You mean vanilla?
Yes, there is. And it's maltier.
It's heavier, it's maltier.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a bigger beer
So
to begin with.
It's
So
already a bigger beer.
there's going to be more stuff in that. It's going to be heavier. It's going to be more robust of a beer if I could use
The
that.
vanilla is interesting. I don't think I've
Yeah.
ever had a pumpkin beer with this much vanilla in it.
I don't know how many of them I could drink.
If you've tried pumpkin beers before and you want to try something different in the pumpkin world, then this is another one.
And now we have something by Evil Genius, Trick or Treat Chocolate Pumpkin Porter.
Yeah.
I've had this before. I like this beer.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. It's a different take on a pumpkin beer. Most of the beers you're going to see are going to be ales, so they're going to be different colors of amber.
Right.
Right now, this one's a porter, so clearly it's a black beer, while not being as heavy as a stout.
Right.
So it's going to have some chocolate components to it. Let's give this a
Okay,
shot.
it's not a bad nose. Smell a little bit of chocolate.
Yep, get the pumpkin in right away. You smell the spice. Yeah, that's neat. I like that beer. A little bit of bitter note on the background, though. I think the chocolate kind of dries it out almost.
I don't think I could drink this one all night either, but it's tasty.
I could drink this all night.
You can.
I could drink this all night. I like this.
I don't really think they have a bad beer. They're a really good brewery to begin with.
Piston.
That's right. They're local-ish. Local-ish,
Local-ish.
right? Yeah. Yeah. That's right. And okay, explain to the viewers about their brewery in Pittston.
So they're brewed at SBC.
Okay.
Right, SBC contracts out their stuff. And so that's kind of how SBC's been making money over the years. They brew a lot of stuff. They even make Monster Energy drinks over
How
there.
about that?
But yeah, they make they brew some, if not all, of the Evil Genius that we get around here. In fact, I've even heard there's certain ones that we can get up here that they can't even get down in Philly at the brewery.
I like that. All right, let's move on. What's next?
Let's see what we got.
Okay, next up, we have a beer that I suggested actually because this was a beer that I found in the back of my fridge that I aged actually accidentally. It's the Voodoo Ranger Atomic Pumpkin. I like this beer. I've had it before. It's pretty unique.
Yeah, it's New Belgium product. So what's the other New Belgium stuff? Fat Tire, right? All that series.
Another great brewery.
This is Atomic Pumpkin, and I guess this one, it says pumpkin ale featuring cinnamon and habanero chili peppers.
It's the habanero chili peppers that get you. So there's a little bit of bite to it.
All right, let's give this a shot. I actually don't smell much off of the top. I don't get a lot of smells.
No, there's not a lot of nose to it, but there's a little bite to it. Take a nice good sip of it. You could taste the pepper.
That's neat, though. The cinnamon hits you first.
Yeah.
This is definitely not a pumpkin pie beer.
No.
This is very different from the Saranac. This is not...
It's atomic pumpkin.
It's atomic.
It's atomic. There you go. It's nuclear.
Nuclear.
I like to say this is a one and done because you can't really drink this all night. I think the pepper will get to you after a while.
The pepper will, but what I'm getting with the spice is more like the natural spiciness of cinnamon just turned up a little bit. If I didn't know there was habaneros in this, I don't think I would have picked it out.
Yeah, so if you want something different, again, here's another thing another beer you could check out.
Yep.
And it's a little different because
Absolutely.
with the cinnamon. And you're right, there's a lot more cinnamon in here than
I mean, the others have clove and allspice and stuff, but this is just cinnamon.
And finally, we have Weyerbacher Imperial Pumpkin. I love this beer.
The most American of beers, right? Pennsylvania has the most pumpkin patches of any state.
How about that? And this is made with real pumpkin too, right?
Made with real pumpkin, absolutely.
Okay.
They put real pumpkin in this beer, and we would also call this a pumpkin pie style beer, but this is what pumpkin beer should taste like. This beer scores as the best pumpkin beer on, I don't know, every list I've ever seen. It's always up at the top.
I can't argue because it's an excellent beer.
It's good.
It's a perfect balance.
There it is.
Of pumpkin with the spice. It's a great tasting beer. It's
great.
It's not overly heavy. There's not the back end of it's really good. It's great. It's a fantastic beer. I love it.
8% alcohol too.
And it's a big bear.
It's a pretty big beer. I like this beer.
Yeah, it's great.
I'm finishing this one.
No, go ahead. There's a great nose to it.
Yeah.
All in all, yeah, it's one of my favorite pumpkin beers, if not my favorite pumpkin.
This is what it should taste like.
Yeah.
This is, people who say, "Oh, I hate pumpkin beers." Well, maybe you do hate pumpkin beers, but also maybe you've never tried Weyerbacher.
Okay, they're the pumpkin beers.
What's my favorite holiday?
St. Patrick's Day. Come on.
Too easy. What's my second favorite holiday?
A 119th wedding anniversary.
Exactly. German St. Patrick's Day.
That's Oktoberfest.
Oktoberfest.
All right. So in front of us right now, we have a bunch of what's considered Oktoberfest beers. First thing we have to talk about, what is Oktoberfest actually? Like, historically, what is it?
It's a wedding anniversary.
I like that.
In 1810, Crown Prince Ludwig I married Princess Teresa of Saxonia-Hildburghausen. So it started off as a wedding celebration, and then they just did it the next year, and they're still doing it 119 years later.
And the next year. And the next year.
That's what it is. There's a horse race as well. So the history of Oktoberfest really reflects the actual history of brewing technology itself. In the very beginning, in the early 1800s, the only beers that they really had were what we would consider dunkels, dark lagers, okay? But as the technology improved, they're able to more finely tune their malt toasting process. Okay. So as time goes on, beers got lighter and lighter. So in 1841, Spaten invented the Marzen style. So a little bit amber in color, malty, a little caramelly.
It tastes like a German beer to me.
Yep. So this style, for over 100 years, was the official beer of Oktoberfest. So now, the American style is more closely related to the Marzen when we're talking about Oktoberfest. So this is a Stegmaier Oktoberfest beer.
Right.
Now, this is also a Marzen, and you can see the colors are very similar to each other.
I taste a pretty big difference, though.
There is a difference, yeah. A little bit smoother, yep. It's a little more, and that's probably because it's a little maltier, right? There's probably a little bit more sugar.
There's a lot more malt in that than the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know what, but cheers to Stegmaier, because it's another good beer.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I absolutely love Stegmaier.
Yeah. So actually, Oktoberfest isn't an officially recognized style by the judging guide. The style.
It's either a Marzen or a Fest beer, right?
Right. In the 1970s, Paulaner invented the Fest beer, and that was a reflection of how more finely they were able to tune the toast of the malts. So it's a much lighter toast, and it ends up being a much lighter beer. So you've got a golden color beer versus an amber color beer.
Okay.
So this one's going to be Warsteiner. There's one reason why beers for Oktoberfest have gotten lighter.
Why is that?
Chugging. These beers are designed to be chugged. That's what Oktoberfest is all about, and they're all about just getting it down. So it's lighter, it's hoppier, it's brighter.
Now, this is a Warsteiner.
And it doesn't have that bite at the end.
No, Warsteiner, this is a very good beer. I have a long relationship with this. I remember drinking this long time ago when I was just getting into the craft beers. This is a German beer a friend of mine, Ed, brought out for us. It was in a keg, small little keg. We went out to the woods. Went out to the woods and drank it. I didn't really like it that much. I like it a lot more
Time
now.
and place. Beer is always time and place.
Absolutely. This is a good beer, and this is the fest beer style.
This
correct?
is what you would call fest beer.
Okay.
So most of the time when you think about Oktoberfest, you really associate the darker, maltier stuff.
Right.
But it hasn't been that way for decades in Germany.
All right, you did mention that Oktoberfest is about chugging. What are we chugging here?
We gotta do a Warsteiner.
Okay.
We gotta do it Munich style.
And in honor of Oktoberfest, we're going to chug because that's what you do in Oktoberfest, I guess so.
This beer's designed for it. Let's test it out.
All right, let's try it. I can't chug. He can, not me. Kevin, thank you for being on the show again, and we'll see you next time on Wine, Hops, and Road Stops from Krugel's Georgetown Deli and Beer.
Thanks, Jeff.
I'll sip this. That'll do it for Wine, Hops, and Road Stops. And look, I have a glass of wine in my hand instead of the usual beer at the end of the show. Why is that? Well, I want to reach out to the wineries in the area and say, hey, come on the show. We want you to be a part too. Remember, life is too short to drink bad beer or bad wine. So have a good drink and enjoy life. We'll see you next time on Wine, Hops, and Road Stops. Look, and as you notice, I'm not a barbarian, holding it by the stem.